Will the House please come to order and members kindly take their seats? Good morning. The devotional today will be led by Ryan and Leo Miller, who are singers from Williston.
Good morning. That's fun. My wife, the representative from Williston, Angela Arsenault, has been asking us to sing for a while. I was reluctant. I mean, this is kind of a weird gig, right? But as many of you know by now, my wife can be very persuasive. Really, it was a tough assignment to come up with something I can sing to this audience. And after months of listening, I had an idea the other day. It's a song by an artist named Daniel Johnston. If you don't know, Daniel Johnston was an outsider artist from Austin who started in the 80s. He was bipolar, schizophrenic, and existed at the far end of what we now know as the spectrum before many of us even knew what that word meant. He made cassette tapes at his house where he lived with his parents. He pressed play and record on the same time that the tape recorder. And he sold the cassettes on the street in Austin with hand-drawn art. These recordings were single take, full of hisses and on an out-of-tune piano. He had a very high-pitched and warbly voice. He was shaky. He was not an American Idol. But this unusual-seeming man, hawking tapes on 6th Street, turned out to be a generational songwriter. His songs are almost childlike, hilarious, full of innocence, vulnerability, but also wisdom and profound beauty. And here's the thread I see between Daniel and the work done in this building. Despite a world that can often be ugly, cruel, unfair, and quick to judge, many of you in this building right now have chosen to lead with nuance, imagination, and optimism. You strive to be stewards of what is beautiful and vulnerable in our state, and you do, at your best, you seek to protect that. So while on the surface, this is a love song, I think it too is also a story of hope and a simple reminder that something magical can result by first believing in it. And also, this is the first time my kid and I have ever performed together in public too, so. Ready? Who's your friend? Don't be sad, I know you will. But don't give up until true love will find you in the end. This is a promise with a catch. Only if you're looking will it find you. Because true love is searching too. But how can I recognize you unless you step out into the light, the light, the light? Don't be sad, I know you will. Don't be sad, I know you will. But don't give up until true love will find you in the end.
Will you please rise as Paige Tamsin Wilson of Manchester leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good job.
Members, we have a bill on the notice calendar requiring referral to a money committee pursuant to House Rule 35A. That is Senate Bill 232, an act relating to public libraries and the Department of Libraries. Carrying an appropriation, the bill is referred to the Committee on Appropriations. We have a joint House resolution to take up at this time. JRH 10 is a joint resolution authorizing the 2026 Green Mountain Girls State Educational Program to use the State House. Please listen to the reading of the resolution by title only.
JRH 10, Joint Resolution Authorizing the 2026 Green Mountain Girls State Educational Program to use the State House.
Now, this resolution has been read and is placed on the calendar for action on the next legislative day pursuant to House Rule 52. Members, we've received requests to read 3 House concurrent resolutions that the House and Senate adopted pursuant to the consent calendar. The first is HCR 212, which is a House concurrent resolution honoring the amazing Brooks Memorial Library Director, Star LaTronca. Please listen to the reading of the resolution.
Whereas Star LaTronca, a 1980 University of California, Berkeley graduate and a former children's librarian at that city's public library, had eyed Brattleboro as a potential home for her family. And whereas after working in California, she became the Youth Services Outreach Manager at the 4-county library system in Binghamton, New York. And whereas a decade ago, her dream career opportunity became available, and the ideal match between the Brooks Memorial Library and Star LaTronca as the library's new director came to fruition. And whereas, as the Brooks' new librarian, she immediately immersed herself in the Brattleboro community, gaining valuable insight into why Brattleboro is a special place. And whereas Star LaTronca has nurtured a broad library collection encompassing informative and stimulating books and serials, as well as sundry other items, ranging from Brattleboro museum passes to snowshoes, has been a powerful champion against censorship, and has curated an enticing menu of speakers and diverse programs for the public's edification and enjoyment. And whereas technology has greatly changed the role of a public library in the 21st century, a customized online database has replaced the historic card catalog. Numerous digital resources are now essential for daily living, and Star LaTronca has ensured that there's internet access for all patrons. And whereas the Brooks Memorial Library continually confronts the demanding realities of homelessness and addiction in Brattleboro, and under Star LaTronca's thoughtful leadership, these challenges have been addressed compassionately and creatively. And whereas in April 2026, Star LaTronca, whose career achievements include working with staff and trustees to secure a federal grant for important capital improvements, and her prominent national roles in children's librarianship and on book award panels, will conclude a superb tenure as Brooks Memorial Library Director. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives that the General Assembly honors the amazing Brooks Memorial Library Director, Star LaTronca, and be it further resolved that the Secretary of State be directed to send a copy of this resolution to Star LaTronca and the Brooks Memorial Library.
Next is HCR 264, which is a House concurrent resolution congratulating the 2026 Richford High School Rockets Division IV Championship Girls Basketball Team. Please listen to the reading of the resolution.
Whereas from 2022 through 2025, Division IV Girls Basketball Championships were the exclusive domain of the West Rutland High School Golden Horde. But in 2026, the Richford Rockets dethroned the longstanding queens of the court, demonstrating consistent defensive and timely offensive skills. And whereas the championship game played at the Barry Auditorium opened as a match between two seemingly evenly matched teams, as the Rockets concluded the first quarter holding a narrow 9-8 lead, but this perception quickly evaporated in the second quarter as the Rockets overwhelmed West Rutland on the scoring board, reaching the halftime break well ahead, 24-11. And whereas success in maintaining a strong lead continued into the second half, as Richford recorded the first 13 points, and the Rockets' top scorer tallied 28 points, including a stunning 13 out of 15 successful free throw shots, And all these factors contributed to the Franklin County School convincing 43-23 victory in the first Division IV title since 2015. And whereas the focus student athletes who turned the historical page on the Division IV girls basketball were Addie Chagnon, Mia St. Pierre, Brooklyn Letourneau, Caitlin Doe, Clara Vengert, Sophia Derby, Justice Stewart, and Aaron Raymond. And whereas head coach Andrew Derby and his great assistant coaches Mike Gervais and Randy Chagnon built effective strategies for the Rockets' stunning season finale. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives that the General Assembly congratulates the 2026 Richford High School Rockets Division IV Championship Girls basketball team. And be it further resolved that the Secretary of State be directed to send a copy of this resolution to the Richford High School.
And finally, HCR 265 is a House concurrent resolution congratulating Ryan and Gabrielle Viennes on their life-saving rescue support for Grand Isle County Sheriff's Department Sergeant Nicholas Pillsbury. Please listen to the reading of the resolution.
Whereas on March 4th, 2026, the quick and effective response of two off-duty South Hero volunteer firefighters, husband and wife, Ryan and Gabrielle Viennes, provided crucial to the rescue of Grand Isle County Sheriff Department Sergeant Nicholas Pillsbury. And whereas as Grand Isle County Sheriff Ray Allen related the story, at approximately 8:15 p.m., Sergeant Nicholas Pillsbury conducted a traffic stop on Route 2 in South Hero based on a stop sign violation. And whereas once Sergeant Nicholas Pillsbury stopped the vehicle, the driver immediately pulled away, executed a U-turn, and drove straight at the law enforcement officer who was standing at the side of his cruiser. And upon impact, Sergeant Nicholas Pillsbury was dragged under the vehicle as it headed off the road. And whereas a tree located on the property of Ryan and Gabrielle Viennes halted the vehicle's trajectory, and whereas both Ryan and Gabrielle Viennes heard the crash and raced to the site, where Ryan Viennes prevented the operator from backing the vehicle off the property, and he simultaneously heard Sergeant Nicholas Pillsbury's yells for help from underneath the vehicle. And whereas Ryan Viennes dashed off to call for assistance while Gabrielle Viennes remained with Sergeant Nicholas Pillsbury, and once the emergency services crew arrived to oversee the extraction operation, both assisted in this time-sensitive effort. And whereas there is no doubt Sergeant Nicholas Pillsbury rescue would not have occurred as rapidly, and possibly not at all, had Ryan and Gabrielle Viennes not immediately responded to the crash, as Sergeant Nicholas Pillsbury was not visible to the rescuers, nor continuously conscious. And whereas in recognition of Ryan and Gabrielle Viennes' superb responsiveness throughout this public safety emergency, Grand Isle County Sheriff Ray Allen has recommended that they be awarded the State Lifesaver of the Year Award. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives that the General Assembly congratulates Ryan and Gabrielle Viennes on their life-saving rescue support for the Grand Isle County Sheriff's Department Sergeant Nicholas Pillsbury. And be it further resolved that the Secretary of State be directed to send a copy of this resolution to Ryan and Gabrielle Viennes.
Are there any announcements? Member from Brattleboro.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we heard the reading of the resolution honoring Star LaTronica on her retirement from Brooks Memorial Library in Brattleboro. It's hard for a formal resolution to capture the essence of our now retiring library director. Star, appropriately named, has delighted Brattleboro citizens with her engaging manner, her compassion, and her unique fashion sense. She's like a charming character in a children's book, or a brave teen of high moral character in a young adult novel, or a woman worthy of her own biography for work welcoming disadvantaged and homeless individuals into the protective space of her library. She has brought a spirit of joy to all. She's beloved. And Madam Speaker, if you would indulge us with a few more remarks.
Member from Brattleboro.
I appreciate that my colleague from Brattleboro highlighted both the storybook spirit of our Star, but also the serious municipal leader who cares for her staff, the integrity of a community institution, and the dignity of everyone she encounters. She has a spicy spirit and a spicier sense of fashion, and while we're devastated that she's stepping away from the library, I'm glad that we'll have some more time to go on walks, enjoy the seasons, and do whatever else she fancies, because she deserves it after a career so generously shared.
Member from Brattleboro.
We are honored today to have Star LaTronica in the chamber, along with her husband, John, and two of her three children, Ramona from Greenfield, Massachusetts, and Sam from Long Beach, California. Also here is our state librarian, Catherine Del Neo, with assistant librarians Tom McMurdo and Jeanette Schaefer. Also, a number of Brattleboro town officials, including our town manager, select board member, former library director, current staff members, along with directors and friends of the library. We all love Star, and please welcome her and her entourage to the People's House.
Will the guest member from Brattleboro please rise and be recognized? Member from Burlington.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, today is Youth Homelessness Awareness Day in the State House. I want to take a moment to recognize a group of Vermonters whose work is both urgent and too often unseen. The partners across our state who are working every day to end youth homelessness. You may not know that just last year in June, 590 youth from ages 13 to 24 were experiencing homelessness in Vermont. Some with their families, but nearly 75% on their own and with their own children. First, I want to recognize the members of the Committee to End Youth Homelessness, of which I'm a proud co-chair. We are a joint committee of the Chittenden County Homelessness Alliance and the Vermont Balance of State Continuum of Care. This is a statewide collaboration of homeless service providers and youth advocates who are working together to ensure that no young person in Vermont falls through the cracks. Their leadership helps guide our policy, our investments, and our shared vision for a system that actually works for youth. I also want to recognize the frontline providers, many of whom are here today, some of whom receive federal funding through the Vermont Coalition of Runaway and Homeless Youth Programs, where I have served since 2022, along with Representative McGill. VCRIP was founded in 1981 to ensure that our small rural communities had the funding and peer support to run programming for homeless youth. Along with agencies that receive other state funding or have raised their own funding across rural communities and small towns, these organizations are doing the hard, relationship-based work of helping young people find stability, safety, and a path forward. They're stretching every dollar and showing us what effective youth-centered care looks like. Today, we have staff from Elevate Youth Services, Spectrum Youth and Family Services, Northwest Counseling and Support Services, Northwest Kingdom Youth Services, Northeast Kingdom Community Action, and Interaction of Brattleboro with us. I want to especially recognize a young person with lived experience of homelessness who has joined us today. Your presence here matters. Your voice helps ground this work in reality, and it reminds us that our decisions in this chamber have real and long-term consequences for real people. And finally, I want to recognize my home agency, Elevate Youth Services, based in Washington County, which houses VCRIP and supports this statewide effort. Their leadership and coordination make this work possible. Together, we're proving that when we invest in young people, center their voices, and work collaboratively, we can end youth homelessness in Vermont. Madam Speaker, I would ask my colleagues in the House to join me in welcoming our guests.
Will the guest member from Burlington please rise and be recognized? Member from Williston.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thought I would know what to say, but I've figured out it's quite hard to introduce the love of your life and a piece of your heart who walks around independently from you in this world, but always connected. So I will just say thank you to both of them, both for their song, but also for sharing their beauty, which I'm so thrilled everyone got to see a little piece of today, because I truly believe it's what allows me to do the work that I do here, that I go home to a house full of song and artistry and creativity, and it really, I feel like this work grounds me, and what they bring to my life helps me fly. And I truly couldn't do this without them, so I ask the body to help me welcome them to the People's House.
Will the family of the member from Williston please rise and be recognized? Member from Berkshire.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We just heard the reading of the resolution congratulating the Richford Rockets girls basketball team for winning the Division IV state title. They triumphed over the West Rutland team that has been a successful contender for many years in the 15 since my daughter was a freshman Rocket. So it was particularly meaningful for me to share their excitement via email on their long bus ride home to our corner of Franklin County. The team and their coaches are here with us today, and on behalf of my district mate, the representative from Franklin, and myself, we ask that you give them a warm welcome to the People's House. They are seated in the balcony.
Will the guest of the member from Berkshire please rise and be recognized? Are there any further announcements? Member from Milton.
Madam Speaker, we also just heard a reading of a resolution recognizing Gabrielle and Ryan Vians for their timely and professional efforts that very likely saved the life of Grand Isle Sheriff's Department's Sergeant Nicholas Pillsbury. Their swift response to the scene and their quick on their feet thinking saved the vehicle that he was pinned under from doing further physical harm to Sergeant Pillsbury. Gabrielle and Ryan's cool under pressure actions directly made a serious impact on Sergeant Pillsbury's well-being. We have a number of first responders from our district and state partners are here with us today. I'll do a quick introduction on them. We have from the Department of Public Safety, Commissioner Jen Morrison and Deputy Commissioner Dan Batesy, Milton Police Chief Frank Scalise, and Fire Lieutenant Steve Burke from Milton. South Hero firefighters, we have Chief Patrick Robinson. We have Assistant Chief Matthew Reed and his wife Becky Relier. We have North Hero Fire Chief Michael Murdoch. And from the Grand Isle Sheriff's Department, we have Sheriff Ray Allen, Corporal Kerry Ondele, Deputy Blaine Mosher, Sergeant Jason Essinger, Deputy Rob Shell, and one of our noted partners in this event, Sergeant Nicholas Pillsbury himself. And last but not least, Gabrielle and Ryan Vians. And Madam Speaker, in today's environment, sadly, we're seeing too much of this. We just saw this happen again in Franklin County in the last week or so, where lawlessness occurred and another deputy was hurt up there. So our first responders today have a tough job. They really do. I think we all recognize that. And anyway, we're here to recognize the folks that were aforementioned by me. I would ask that we give them all a hearty welcome. They're seated behind me in the gallery.
Will the guest of the member from Milton please rise and be recognized? Are there any further announcements? Member from Cambridge, Waitsfield, my apologies.
Madam Speaker, I rise to recognize and welcome a former member of this body to the State House this morning. Former Representative Carrie Dolan is here for the day, or most of the day. As many of you know, Carrie served 3 terms in the State House. She's been a friend and a mentor to both me and the member from Moortown. When she left the State House, she did not finish her service. She continues to moderate the Waitsfield Town Meeting, which is an entertaining and important experience. So Carrie will be here. I know she'll be joining at lunch in the cafeteria, and we'll be here a little bit this afternoon. And I know she's looking forward to connecting with former colleagues and friends. So if you will join me in welcoming former Representative Carrie Dolan.
Will the former member please rise and be recognized? Member from Waterbury.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And now for something a little bit different for us. This is on behalf of the state curator. I would like to welcome Andrew West of Williston to this building today. Andrew is donating 8 letters that he acquired from the letters of Captain Horace B. Sawyer to the state curator's office. And we may ask, well, who is Horace B. Sawyer and why is this important for us here in this building? And I'm here to borrow the microphone from the member from Georgia for a little history lesson. Horace B. Sawyer was born in 1797, and in 1812, at the age of 15, he was a midshipman and assigned to the USS Eagle on Lake Champlain, which was then, he was then taken prisoner of war. This is in the War of 1812, the war we just don't really talk that much about. But in 1814, he had been released and he was ordered to join the Constitution, and he was on board for the ship's epic fight for HMS Cyane and Levant on February 20th, 1815. And according to the U.S. Constitution Museum, by an odd twist of fate, Cyane's commander was none other than Captain Gordon Falcon, who had overseen Sawyer's imprisonment in Halifax. He then continued to serve on various ships and climbed the ranks of the Navy. In 1853, Horace was awarded the rank of captain. At the time, captain is the highest rank in the U.S. Navy, and he was the first Vermonter named as a captain in the U.S. Navy. And then in 1856, Sawyer was awarded a sword by the governor of Vermont from a proclamation by the legislature for his service in the War of 1812 and achieving the rank of captain. But that's not all. In 1858, while this building was being renovated after the fire, Horace sent a letter to the governor, Governor Highland Hall. May I read it?
You may.
Thank you. Sir, I beg permission through your excellency to make an offering for acceptance by the state of a chair manufactured from the oak timber of the distinguished the United States frigate Constitution. While it may be regarded in some degree as commemorative of the signal success which attended our arms in the War of 1812, it will especially apply to the Constitution's victory over 2 British ships of war, the Cyane and Levant, gained on the 20th of January, 1815. Her subsequent chase by and escape from a British squadron of 3 frigates of greatly superior force on the 19th of March, 1815, and at the same time, though in a very imperfect way, mark my devotion to the state of my birth, my home, and as some acknowledgement on my part for many acts of kindness I've received from the generous and gallant people of our state. I have the honor of remaining Your Excellency's most obedient student or servant, H.B. Sawyer. That chair is the governor's Constitution chair, which still sits in the governor's ceremonial office. And again, on behalf of the curator, I think that having a young Vermonter, I'm sorry, you're 22, and to A, have an interest in history, and B, to donate these letters to the curator's office, filling in an important piece of our history in this building, I think is worthy of recognition. So would you please welcome Adam West and his family to the State House.
Will the guest of the member from Waterbury please rise and be recognized? Member from Fairfax.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's not often that you get to call a constituent a friend, but about 3 years ago, I was pumping gas and got stopped and was asked, "Hey, are you my representative?" And from that, I've had the most wonderful friendship with Ted, who is in the building, and would love for the body to help me welcome him today.
Will the guest member from Fairfax please rise and be recognized? Are there any further announcements? Member from Cambridge.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Rural Caucus will meet tomorrow morning from 8 to 8:45 in room 10 and on Zoom. We'll be hearing from the Green Mountain Care Board and the Vermont Association of Hospitals and Health Systems about Vermont's critical access hospitals. All are welcome.
Are there any further announcements? Member from Wolcott.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Age Strong Vermont Day is 1 week away, and tomorrow we will hear a concurrent resolution recognizing May as Older Americans Month and designating May 6th as Age Strong Vermont Day. Prior to the reading, the Older Vermonters Caucus will meet in room 10, where we'll be joined by speakers from the Department of Disabilities, Aging, and Independent Living and the Department of Health. The Commissioner Bowen will focus her presentation on ageism and how we reframe aging, while Commissioner Hildebrandt will provide an update on the health of older Vermonters, celebrating where older Vermonters are aging strong and identifying opportunities to support even more Vermonters in doing so. Refreshments will be served.
Are there any further announcements? Seeing none, orders of the day. Members, we will begin with House Bill 956, which is an act relating to approval of an amendment to the Charter of the City of Burlington related to the Office of Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. Please listen to the third reading of the bill.
H 956, an act relating to approval of an amendment to the Charter of the City of Burlington relating to the Office of Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have passed the bill. Next is Senate Bill 255, which is an act relating to establishing a pilot law enforcement governance council in Windham County. Please listen to the third reading of the bill.
S 255, an act relating to establishing a pilot law enforcement governance council in Windham County.
The question is, shall the bill pass in concurrence with proposal of amendment? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have passed the bill in concurrence with proposal of amendment. And now we'll take up Senate Bill 173, which is an act relating to vocational rehabilitation. The bill was referred to the Committee on Commerce and Economic Development, which recommends that the House propose to the Senate to amend the bill as printed in today's calendar. The member from Pownell, Representative Cooper, will speak for the committee. And then carrying an appropriation, the bill was referred to the Committee on Appropriations, which recommends that the report of the Committee on Commerce and Economic Development be amended as printed in today's calendar. The member from Bennington, Representative Nigro, will speak for that committee. Please listen to the second reading of the bill.
S 173, an act relating to vocational rehabilitation.
Member from Pownell.
Madam Speaker, S 173 is presented to you as a strike-all amendment from the House Committee on Commerce and Economic Development, operating in two broad categories. The latter of the two making technical corrections to apprenticeship language to the Department of Labor, the former being where we assess how individuals access vocational rehabilitation services. I'd like to, before getting into the bill itself, acknowledge that this is a substantial moment in an individual's life to access vocational rehabilitation services. It requires rethinking how one makes one's way in the world, and for the amount of people who describe their job or their occupation when they are asked who they are, that underscores how significant of a shift this represents. And so in an era of trying to figure out the difference between cost effectiveness and government effectiveness, we want to get this right. Vocational rehabilitation services are provided when a worker's injury prevents the worker from finding or returning to suitable employment for which the worker has prior training or experience. Suitable employment includes employment which would pay a wage as close to 100% of the pre-injury wage with that experience and knowledge. Now, vocational rehabilitation services are specifically tied to restoring an employee's earning ability, and those services can take many different forms, including, for example, resume writing, interview skills, counseling, ergonomic modifications, assistance with job placement, vocational testing, training, and education. This is very hands-on work, a high touch, with only 25 registered vocational rehabilitation counselors available in Vermont. That work requires a master's degree as well as significant experience with Vermont's workers' compensation system. Accordingly, a screening or initial screening has been implemented to lower the caseload for those existing vocational rehabilitation counselors. Now, most injured workers do not need vocational rehabilitation services because they're medically released to return to work, and the employer has suitable work available for when the worker or the medical evidence indicates that the worker will not be able to return to work given the severity of the injury. A worker who has been out of work for 90 days may be screened for vocational rehabilitation benefits, and under current law, a worker is required to undergo an initial screening to determine whether the worker is entitled to a full assessment with a certified vocational rehabilitation counselor. And with that in mind, I will now walk through the bill, which begins on page 2046 of the House calendar. In section 1 of the bill, the bill adds to the form that is provided by the Department of Labor to workers' compensation claimants on vocational rehabilitation to include the language that the right to request vocational rehabilitation services in the future if the work injury affects the worker's ability to earn the worker's pre-injury wage. The new provision would allow a worker who may not meet the eligibility for vocational rehabilitation services today to request such services in the future if the work injury prevents the worker from being able to earn their pre-injury wage. Section 2 of the bill begins to examine this pre-screening that's been placed into statute to understand better whether an individual qualifies for the vocational rehabilitation benefits. This section creates a working group to provide recommendations to the General Assembly on how to improve the current vocational rehabilitation system to ensure it meets the needs of eligible injured workers in a timely and cost-effective manner. The working group, the composition of the working group is described on page 2047, and the working group's members, other than the Commissioner of Labor or designee and the Commissioner of Financial Regulation or designee, are appointed by the Speaker of the House and the Committee on Committees. It's important to highlight here that that working group includes 2 representatives of workers' compensation claimants, 2 representatives of employers or workers' compensation carriers, and 2 Vermont certified vocational rehabilitation counselors out of the 25 aforementioned. The first meeting of that working group shall be on or before August 14th, 2026, and it can meet up to 5 times and will cease to exist upon submission of its report to the General Assembly on or before December 15th of 2026. There are 3 broad areas that we are giving the working group to consider, with several questions under each. You can see on page 2047 and 2048 about the initial screening itself. Should it be kept or should it be discontinued? Pertaining to vocational rehabilitation generally, such as can the current system be improved for both claimants and compensation carriers? And finally, to ask questions pertaining to worker wage replacement benefits. So could changes be made to enable claimants to access vocational rehabilitation services while they continue to be eligible for wage replacement benefits? Section 3 amends 21 VSA Chapter 13 pertaining to apprenticeship, making a significant number of technical corrections to the state's apprenticeship program, primarily to reflect changes that were made at the federal level, both in sections 1111 to definitions, as well as to 1113, registered apprenticeship program itself, And we see these changes throughout the bill, largely pertaining to those federal changes. There are two areas to highlight here. Section 1114 is amended pertaining to the Apprenticeship Advisory Board to ensure that barriers to participation in the program are addressed, including strengthening relationships with community partners that work with these underserved populations. A note on 1123 pertaining to pre-apprenticeship programs, we see one single word shifting from registered to certified. There's significance to that, as it is meant to clarify what is a pre-apprenticeship that is certified in helping individuals, or programs that are run by community organizations that help people prepare to enter a registered apprenticeship, and registered apprenticeships themselves, which are formal training programs approved and registered by the Vermont Registered Apprenticeship Program at the Department of Labor. The effective date of the bill in Section 4 is July 1st, 2026. I'd like to acknowledge or mention that after passage, the title of the bill will be amended to read an act relating to vocational rehabilitation and apprenticeships. Madam Speaker, we took testimony from the following: the reporter of the bill, the Director of Government Relations with Premier Piper Eggleston and Kramer, the lobbyist from Working Vermont, the President of the Vermont Chamber of Commerce, the Business, Legislative, and Community Outreach Manager of Higher Ability Vermont, the Deputy Director of Higher Ability Vermont, the Vice President of the Associated Industries of Vermont, a partner with Bigham Fox Skinner, vocational rehabilitation counselor with Catamount Case Management, the Director of Workers' Compensation and Safety with the Vermont Department of Labor, the Director of Policy and Legislative Affairs with the Vermont Department of Labor, and Legislative Counsel from the Office of Legislative Counsel. The committee found the bill favorable with amendment on a vote of 11-0-0, and we ask for your support.
And now speaking for the Committee on Appropriations, the member from Bennington.
Madam Speaker, the working group established in S-173 is estimated to cost $4,000 in per diems, which will come from the Department of Labor's budget. House Appropriations added clarification that the legislators on the working group will also receive a per diem. This would cost approximately $2,700 and would be absorbed by the legislative budget. This was supported in appropriations with a vote of 11-0-0, and we ask for the body's support.
So the question is, shall the report of the Committee on Commerce and Economic Development be amended as recommended by the Committee on Appropriations? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have amended the report of the Committee on Commerce and Economic Development. Now the question is, shall the House propose to the Senate to amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Commerce and Economic Development as amended? Are you ready for the question? Member from Burlington.
Madam Speaker, may I interrogate the presenter of the bill?
Member from Pownell is interrogated.
I assure you I'm not doing this to create another awkward configuration of interrogation. But I had a simple question. I noticed that on the working group that the Speaker of the House and the Committee on Committees appoints many of the different members. I can understand why we would have the appointments of legislators coming from the Speaker or the Committee on Committees, but I'm curious why the community voices are being appointed by politicians.
Can the member specify the community voices?
I can. There's two representatives on behalf of workers' comp claims, one appointed by the Speaker of the House, one by the Committee on Committees. There's two representatives on behalf of employers and workers, compensation insurance carriers, one appointed by the Speaker, one by the Committee on Committees. There's two vocational rehabilitation counselors, once again, one from the Speaker, one from the Committee on Committees. And I'm curious if there were not community groups or professional organizations or other parties that could have been the appointers of these members.
I thank the member for the clarification. Well, it did not arise in the testimony that we took about this proposed or this strike all amendments, that this was an inadequate manner in which to have these appointments made.
Thanks, member. Madam Speaker, I don't want to belabor the point, but I think we should be mindful that when we're creating these working groups on who we're giving the power to put people on the groups, and we need to be mindful that we're not concentrating too much power in the General Assembly or in the leadership of the General Assembly when making these kinds of appointments. I still support the bill, but it's just something I noticed. Thank you.
So the question is, shall the House propose to the Senate to amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Commerce and Economic Development as amended? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have proposed to the Senate to amend the bill. Now the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Are you ready for that question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and third reading is ordered. The final bill on our action calendar today is Senate Bill 179, which is an act relating to the Uniform Disclaimer of Property Interest Act. Member from South Burlington.
Madam Speaker, I move that we postpone action on S-179, an act relating to the Uniform Disclaimer of Property Interest Act, one legislative day.
The member from South Burlington moves that we postpone action on Senate Bill 179 for one legislative day. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have postponed action on Senate Bill 179 for one legislative day. Members, that completes the orders of the day. Are there any announcements? Member from Georgia.
Thanks, Madam Speaker. I want to bring to the members' attention the fact that this past weekend was the annual Maple Festival in St. Albans. That's an occurrence that's become quite well known across the state. And I want also to remind them that the maple industry in the state of Vermont is more important than we think it is. You know, if you grow up in Vermont, maple becomes kind of every day. Everyone lives with real Vermont maple, and we appreciate that. But the maple industry brings in approximately $315 million of economic activity to our state each year and employs about 4,000 people in seasonal jobs, but it is employment. We also produce about 50% of the maple syrup sold in the United States. Canada, the province of Quebec, exceeds that amount, but we are worldwide known as the best maple syrup available anywhere. So the Maple Festival gives out 4 prizes for maple syrup. They also give out prizes for candy and maple cream and so forth. And I want you to know that the winner of the overall maple contest was a former student of mine, Stefan Tatro, who lives in Fairfield. And I'm so proud of him, and I'm sure that the reason he's such a good sugar maker has to do with his 5th grade teacher. So if you ever meet him, mention my name. It was a great festival.
Are there any further announcements? Member from Brattleboro.
Madam Speaker, the previous member who spoke left out a very important detail in her announcement, which is that the Ways and Means Committee does have a Maple Queen among us. And the member won Best in Class, a great big beautiful blue ribbon for her syrup this year.
Congratulations.
Join me in congratulating her.
Congratulations, member. Member from Georgia.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes, I did. I'll never enter again. But it was a lot of fun. They give out a prize for what we used to know as fancy. It's called delicate now. And I think you remember when that all came up for a vote here on the floor, I voted no on changing those categories, but it went through. It's what used to be fancy, now it's called delicate, then grade A, then dark, and very dark. I won the prize for very dark. And I'm proud of that. It's great syrup. It was clear. They tasted it for all the categories, sugar density, flavor true to grade, and so forth. I am not the queen of maple. You'll hear that around the hallway. It's just a blue ribbon. That's all I won. But it was a lot of fun. And because I won, you can win too. I am just a small-time backyard sugar maker. I had 200 taps. I got my husband to lug the sap, and he also tapped for me. He does all the heavy work. I boil. You can do that too. So I hope that you consider it. It's what makes Vermont famous for maple.
Are there any further announcements? Member from Winooski.
Madam Speaker, I'm going to keep this going. My children have voted the former representative from Granby Syrup also their best in class. And if anyone would like to get in on some of that, I'll be making a trip up next weekend. So come to me if you'd like to order some.
Are there any further announcements? Member from Essex Junction.
Madam Speaker, House Democrats will caucus in room 11, 10 minutes after the floor.
Member from Poultney.
Madam Speaker, House Republicans will caucus 10 minutes following adjournment.
Member from Burlington.
Madam Speaker, the House Progressives will caucus at noon in room 267. Thank you.
Are there any further announcements? Seeing none, member from Poultney, can you please offer us a motion to adjourn until Wednesday, April 29th at 1 p.m.?
Madam Speaker, I make a motion this body stand in adjournment until Wednesday, April 29th, 2026 at 1 p.m.
You have heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it.